Hi, unlimited humans. Welcome to Decision Making Embodied. This podcast is made for you to see what embodied, present, value driven, impact oriented, and authentic decision making looks and feels like. Every week, we bring to you accomplished guests and inspired talks about all things next level decision making, embodiment, and the practices you need to live the life you truly deserve, desire, and aim to. Wow, I am so honored to be welcoming Dino Dulplich today as our guest. He's a high performance and business coach, and he's on a mission to help 1 million high achieving coaches and leaders and entrepreneurs to achieve their highest levels of performances. He believes that true leadership starts by mastering oneself, mind, body, and spirit, so that we can be better model for those we love and those that we serve. For this, he created the Level Up Leader Movement. And well, he's an entrepreneur, he's a storyteller, he's a master neuro-linguistic practitioner, and one of the world's leading high performance coaches. So be ready to welcome and drink up out of the wisdom and knowledge that Dino is about to drop throughout these episodes. There will be a practical exercise for you to uh, understand how to be more in your values. He's a man of values, he's a man of integrity, and this is why we have him speaking today at Decision Making Embodied. Today, we've got our Dino Del Plige. Today, we've got this powerhouse of a human being. He makes leadership sexy with his movement, level up leaders movement. And well, it's a big pleasure to have you with us, Dino. What you've got in store for us? If I had to ask you, who are you today as you join as our listeners and decision making embodied? Who are you embodying today, Dino?
Well, first, I must say blessed love and respect to your art, and it's truly a pleasure to be here, having this conversation with you. And I think the person who I'm embodying right now is, the version of myself who I'm continuously being. Yeah, and whoever that being is present right here, right now. I really value, continuous learning and, just striving for self mastery. And self mastery is a journey. It's not really a place that I would ever get to, but it would be, a practice that I aspire to. Yeah, so that's who I'm being right now. And just really want to thank you for holding this space for me. Yeah, as we're about to drop some fire.
Absolutely. You're about to drop some fire and welcome you indeed. Everyone, as every single time I would ask, as always, pause, take some notes if you can. Ask yourself the same questions being asked in here because these questions are for you to coach yourself. Those questions are for you to expand your perception. And the answers are experienced answers from Dino and intuitive questions. Because I know that he gets in a flow when we speak about leadership, when we speak about decision making, when we speak about high performance. And I want to start with this. I always love to drop in the science of decision making and the understanding of what decision making is from the guest, from your perspective in this case, Dino. So leadership and high performance are quite new, are not quite new trends, but when it comes to embodiment, it is. And as you know, we speak to embodying leadership and embodying high performance. So why do you think this is important?
Well, first I want to share a story before I answer that question directly, and I think it would give a bit of context, as into my work and why I believe this is important. And what even when you say embodiment, I really relate with that a lot. And I can remember in the year 2017, there I was on the seventh floor of my school dormitory, and there was one word flowing through my head: jump, Dino, jump, just get it over with. Now that was the first time I ever had a thought of killing myself, and so every time I share that particular event, it brings chills to me because I'm always this outgoing, hyperactive individual, who you would never imagine have thoughts like those. However, at that point, I was aware that something was wrong, and obviously something was wrong at that point in my life. I was in a bad place financially. My relationships was going to the dog, and on my best days, I spent my best days in bed, just scrolling through social media. And one day while scrolling, I came across this speaker by the name of Jim Rohn, and it was as if every message he spoke was directed to me, like no kid you. And the first thing he said was, for things to get better for you, you need to get better. Yeah, and that hit me right here. And it made so much sense. At that point, I realized that everything that I was experiencing in my life had nothing to do with anyone else other than my performance in life. Yeah, however, I did what any other human being would have done, and I stayed in bed and I continued scrolling. And then he said this. He said, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That hit me right here. And that was like a secret nugget. Like that was like the secret to life to me. Being a student at that time, it made sense. If I work on myself, I become better. Yeah, I'll be able to produce more. However, I
Uh-huh.
didn't know what to do. So I stayed in bed and I continued scrolling until he said this. This is what made the biggest difference was don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action. Yeah, and that's when I realized that if things were gonna change for me, I needed to take action. And that day I made a commitment to myself that every day at 5 a.m., I'm gonna get up and move. Yeah, it doesn't matter what. I'm gonna get up and move. I'm gonna take action. Yeah, and that habit of getting up and moving created a ripple effect into, the personal development learning that I did, and not only learning but actually taking action on what I was learning. And I slowly but surely changed and become a different person. And this is how I know I became a different person. When most of my friends came
Mhm.
back from summer vacation that day, one of my friends looked at me and he said this direct to my face. He said, Dino, you're different. I feel like if I'm talking to someone else. Yeah, and that's why I believe, it's important. It's all about who you are being. Yeah, and
Yes, you made a
when you're
choice.
making decision from who you're being, everything else in your life changes. And I hope that that story answered that question.
Well, it absolutely did, and look, it landed powerfully. It's a decision that you make. And I always
Yeah.
like to share that decision as a word has the same root in Latin, like where that word comes from, of rescission, residere and decidere. Like rescission is when you reside, when you take away, when you almost tear away something from something else. That
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
residing something. And when you decide, you actually have this decision. You go for something and the rest falls apart. You
Yeah.
decided something and someone came to you and told you, look, you're different. I'm talking to someone else. And
Yeah.
so you started to perform. You chose, you decided to perform, to be some other character in your life. And this is very fascinating to me. And I am sure that among you who listen, there's someone who needs to hear this. So eventually, even just go back and listen out to the story that Dino shared again, and then keep going with this. But I'm pretty sure that Dino's gonna drop more fire to this. What was the process of that? decision making moment in your life? How what happened? Because you kept scrolling many times. You shared
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you kept you didn't it didn't land, or probably it landed but it took off again afterwards, right? So what
Yeah,
happened? What
yeah,
was the process at the point of true
yeah.
decision when you decided, when you chose to get up and move at 5 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah, it's very interesting that you asked me that. Even initially, I had these limiting belief that I needed to be in a certain place around certain people for me to be able to learn certain things. Yeah, and that was a limited belief based on, most of my learning was done in school. So I believe that for me to
Uh-huh.
learn and excel in life, I need to be in a school where I'm being taught. Yeah, I didn't see myself of having that autonomy that I can go looking for the information that I'm interested in learning. Yeah, so I think this shift came with knowing that, okay, where am I right now and where do I want to be? And if I don't change what I'm currently doing, I'll remain where I am. Yeah, so what I did, as I said, I took action and take the littlest action that I can take, which was moving. Yeah, and that movement for me looked like getting up in the morning and running. Yeah, running
Mm-hmm.
every morning. And not
Mm-hmm.
only did how what I spoke about change, my body started changing. Because around
Uh-huh.
that time I actually start, working out as well, taking care of my body physically. Yeah,
Yeah.
doing push-ups, pull-ups. Yeah, and that led me to creating one of my first ever, healthy lifestyle community here in China. And I think that was the catalyst to everything that was
Yeah.
created. And another thing that really propelled me is that I realized that if I had these thoughts personally, I know that
Mm-hmm.
there are people who I care about and who I love who have these thoughts as well, and they are suffering in silence. So I also made a commitment to myself to share what I was learning because I didn't want anyone else to experience what I was experiencing. Yeah, it was like this pain that is not physical, but you're just hurting inside, and you just want it to stop, and there's nothing you can do to make it stop. So I think, it's just that mindset of knowing that you don't need to know everything. However, take the littlest action that you can, and you'll start to create momentum and open opportunities for you to do the big things that you want. Yeah, and another
Mm-hmm.
thing I would drop in there as well, as a result of me taking that little action, this led to me receiving my first investment for my first company. And I would have never seen that opportunity unless I took the first action of starting to run. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. I hear you big time. Look, you said results, you spoke results, and you spoke actions here. You spoke specific decisions, and I want to bring them up again because to me and what I heard, and if I put it together with the next level embodiment framework, you spoke it all and beautifully. You spoke that there was, for you to need to understand first of all where you were at and where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
That's exactly what presence and self-awareness as first step pillar element of next level embodiment is. If you want to embody that next level, you need to start living it now. You need to
Yeah, yeah.
embody it
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
That
yeah,
next
yeah.
level is now present. So you started
Yes,
bringing it
sir.
to present as you saw, where am I at, where I want to be there. That person will be doing certain things, so I need to start at once, and you made the
Yeah.
commitment to that, and that was a choice. You decided for that. And indeed, self-awareness and presence as a first piece, and what you integrated as a thing was movement, vitality,
Yeah, yeah,
energy.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
second
yeah,
piece
yeah.
that I bring up continuously with next level embodiment as a framework. um Self-empowering yourself, empowering yourself, indeed, like it's a self-empowerment framework, right? And I'm so glad that you brought it like so much and in this way together, because then when you realize your body started changing, what I heard is that you inevitably needed to pour that energy and vitality that you were able to create, kudos to you, and pour it forward, pay it forward to the ones
Yeah,
you
yeah,
love. That I believe
yeah,
is in your values. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So juicy because that's authenticity, that's integrity, that's creating a world that is richer in what matters to you. And really kudos to you, Dino. Thank you for sharing that. I believe that with just this piece, initial tiny bit of what you shared of your life and how you made powerful decisions in your life, someone got inspired today. So let's move on from here. I want to ask you something that I kind of try to understand from everyone. It is both about your take on decision making and of the type of decision maker you are. So, kind of generalized, but the mainstream knowledge and science on decision making says there are three different types of decision makers. So, the rational, the intuitive, and the emotional. What type of decision maker would you say you are?
I'll say I'm a combination of maybe each of them. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
think there are times when
Love.
I make emotional decisions. Yeah, there are times when I tend to be rational about it. However, I was having this conversation with my girlfriend recently, actually, and
Mm.
as per my understanding, I believe that we are all first emotional decision makers. I believe we feel it even before we rationalize it, whether we're aware of it or not. Yeah, because there's feelings is stored literally in your body. Yeah, and the feelings that we feel, it's a like okay, like look at the human system as a computer. A computer has a hard drive, it has memory, and then it has a processor. Our body is the hard drive. That's where we store habits, routines, patterns. Everything is stored there. Our brain, yeah, that's like memory. It's quick, yeah, quick information consciously. And our brain also processes. So our brain always look to the body for information so it can make decisions. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the way how I usually see this. So I believe that we're always making decisions emotionally before we rationalize it. Yeah, so I think I would take that same part as well, being emotional for us. And there are times when I sit and I think about my decisions, but most often I would be a lot intuitive. Yeah, there's always this inner voice, that is inner knowing that I love to follow. And when I do that, I think, yeah, I feel more at peace and feel more fulfilled with the decisions that I make. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, it's beautiful how you brought it together. Now, coming from that, and now that we've learned a little bit about you and how you make decisions and about, yeah, the science of decision making, let's talk about some decision making pitfall that you might have had. Can you share with us of a time that you made a bad decision and eventually even from what type you made that decision from?
Yeah, yeah. Man, now talking about that, even, there was a bunch of different things that lead to me becoming having those suicidal thoughts as I shared in my earlier story. And going
Right.
back to one of the pivotal decisions that I believe it was, looking back on that decision, I won't want to change what I did. However, saying I won't make that decision again, I at that particular point there was somebody who I truly truly trust as a student, and I had a lot of influence on campus at that time as well, as a result of being one of the only Mandarin foreign speakers. And I borrowed money from my friends. Yeah, like a significant amount of money to give to a friend so that he can do business. Yeah, and with the intent that he would have returned that money to me. However, business didn't go as he planned. Yeah, and that money just disappeared. Yeah, so that means the person who I borrowed the money from, I had to pay them back. And then this guy who I gave the money, he disappeared as well. Yeah. However, me and that person, we are really great friends now. Yeah. I actually, get to a point in my life where I was able to forgive him and understand, his story and what he had to go through. But that decision of, borrowing money that I don't have to give to someone else, I don't think that's a decision that I, how to say, I could have, that I would never want to repeat again. My
Mhm.
brother would tell me that, how to say, you don't lend money unless you can pay it back twice. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay. I hear
Yeah.
you on that. Absolutely. Yeah, you don't get money if you don't borrow money. Yeah, exactly. If
Yeah.
you are not
Unless you can
sure,
pay it back twice. Exactly.
you have it
Exactly.
already. And that's already
Yeah.
some good guideline to avoid such a pitfall. I love
Yeah.
it. I went through it in the past. And
And maybe to add on the decision making tape, because this is something that
yes,
I coach around as well. And one of the first pillars of high performance leadership is seeking clarity. Yeah,
mhm,
and when we speak about seeking clarity, it's not so much about, oh, should I go left or should I go right? More so
mhm,
about, who do you want to be?
mm,
Yeah, and what are your values? What do you want out of life? And you make decision based on those criterias.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
so if you gotta evaluate the decision that you're making, first you gotta be clear about, who do you want to be when you're at your best. Yeah, and for me personally, that is somebody who is enthusiastic, playful, and kind. Yeah, so when I'm making decision, I'm always filtering my decision through these three markers. Yeah, is this gonna create an opportunity for me to be more playful? Yeah, is it gonna create an opportunity for me to share and be kind to others? So that's
Mm.
another thing as well. And sometimes if these three markers don't get checked for me, it makes it easy for me to say a no, because
Ah,
I'm really, I try my best to be in alignment with the best version of myself each day. And there are times when I'm not kind, yeah, and there are
yeah.
times when I'm not playful, yeah, as a result of where my energy is at. However, I try to make it a practice where I embody adjectives of who I want to be. Yeah, so I think
Mm.
that's a really powerful framework that I
It
see that my
is.
clients use, and gets, really get out, become very utility, a very great
Uh-huh.
utility to use,
Uh-huh.
as it's not something that you got to hold in your head, but just being true to who you are and who you want to be. Yeah.
Well, this was very powerful. So, um, basically, what you do is to understand where you want to be and how it would feel, and kind of adjectives of that. And as you have the
Yeah. Store that energy
adjectives,
in words.
uh-huh, exactly. You bring down the words, and through the words you almost like values. I mean, would you almost call them like those are guidelines for you to
Yes.
stick
Yes.
to who you want to be, right? And so you make the
Yeah.
decision to go after that, and then you know what to do, right? Then you know what to do based on those adjectives. Wow, this is very powerful, and I do see how your clients get benefit out of it. Of course, like they get into this integrity, and I want to remark on a thing that sometimes you are not that. Sometimes you shared with us so valuably and so vulnerably that you're not necessarily that playful, you're not necessarily that compassionate and that kind, because
Yeah. Yeah.
your energy is not at that
That place.
level that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
required to 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 keep up with your values, with your boundaries, to say no what you
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to say no to say yes to what you want to say yes
And
to.
let,
And this
and
is key.
let me
So yeah,
share
sure, sure.
let me share your very interesting like a real life with this, something
Oh, please,
personal.
please.
I, I
Always inspiring.
remember there was this one morning, my girlfriend and I, we got into a fight. Yeah, yeah. She chose some words, I chose some words, and I remembered I usually have these three words alarm to remind me of who I want to be. Once in the morning, once at noon, and once in the evening. And that morning, like around 12, like I was at the bed sitting, and then my phone alarm. And the three words about how I love to treat others showed up on the phone. And those words were kind, compassionate, and respectful. Yeah. I can literally feel the energy of anger and dissatisfaction inside of me. However, when I look at those three words, I ask myself, Dino, were you compassionate? No, I wasn't. Dino, were you respectful? No, I wasn't. Dino, were you kind? No, I wasn't. And I immediately went downstairs and I apologized, I hugged, and I kissed her. And then we had such a wonderful day. And looking back in retrospect during that day, I realized that if those words didn't show up, I wouldn't have reminded myself of who I want to be. And that they would have ended up sucking for both of us. Yeah. And if someone is listening and they want to apply this as well, they can think about their three words and really put it in their phone as an alarm to remind you of who you want to be each day.
My dearest, let's kind of lead by example. What are the words? I'm gonna pick one word in this very moment and do it. You've got 30 seconds to pick a word. Go on to your alarms. It's very easy. If you have an iPhone, scroll down. If you have an Android, I have no idea, but you pick it. You put it there. You go onto your alarm and you pick I don't know 9:40 for now and just change the word there. And to me, it will be um, I will make it easy for now, and then later I'll
But
spend some time. But
before you go,
decided.
what we can do if you want to make this really practical, I
Yes,
can
yes, yes.
take you through the
Please do
exercise
it for me.
that I do with my clients that really would be a bit
Uh-huh.
helpful even for those of them who are listening. And if you're listening to this, you can do this with your eyes closed or with your eyes open, yeah, whichever is most comfortable to you. Just make sure you're not driving or you're not operating any heavy machinery. So I just want you to just take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just want you to relax. Just relax a little bit more. And as you relax even deeper, you can find a place of relaxation. And for some of us, that's somewhere on the inside, and maybe it's on our skin. And as you're listening to the sound of my voice, this means that you're relaxing even more. Yeah, that's right. Now I want you to imagine yourself. Imagine yourself walking on a beach. And you can feel the sand beneath your toes. Feel the kiss of the sun on your face. Just feel the sea breeze washes through you. Now as you look out into the horizon, you can see the birds preparing for a meal, bringing a sense of relaxation and peace. Now there is something out into the horizon, and as you look closer and closer, it's coming even closer. And it's one of the most beautiful yachts you have ever seen. And as it gets closer, you can hear the music, and you hear some voices that are very familiar. And as you imagine yourself floating up all the way onto that yacht, you can see some of your family and some of your friends having fun, laughing. And as you gaze to the left of the room, there's someone who caught your attention. Their energy radiates throughout the entire event, laughing and smiling, and everyone is just so attracted to their energy. Now this is you. This is the future best version of you. Now as you're seeing what you're seeing, I want you to be very observant of everything that you're noticing about this version of yourself. Confident, present, attractive. Now what is three words? What are three words you'll use to describe this person? Now as you're thinking about these words, they're becoming even more clear to you. And when you have those words in your own time, you can take a deep breath, open your eyes, and write them down. Yeah. Yeah. What are your three words, Arton?
Let's start with that. Present, alive, and caring.
Yeah.
Present, alive, and caring. What are your three words? Unlimited humans listening to the power of expression of Dino Delpleach today. This has been powerful, Dino. Thank you a lot for gifting us with this short guided, truly embodying process of yours. Um, let's drop into some fun. Let's actually wire these three words that we all got and tell, inform our systems that this is good fun to do.
Yeah.
Deciding, making the decision that these are the words that you'll show up for me at every 7:40 a.m. in the morning, right before I start cooking the food
Yes,
for my
sir.
kid, for
Yes,
example.
sir.
Or what's the
Yes.
time for you who are listening? So you make a decision, and making decision can be fun. So indeed, as I say again, let's test our Dino's decision making skills and attitude. Okay, so right now I'll share some scenario, and you Dino go about it. Okay, it'll be kind of a rapid fire of funny questions, and you'll have to answer in this lightning round. Are you
Let's get
ready?
it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Let's get it. So um if you could have any superpower, let's start light and on some empowered note. If you could have any superpower, but it had to be completely useless, what would you choose?
Interesting. If I can have any superpower and it could be completely useless,
Uh-huh.
what would I choose? And when you say useless, what do you mean by that specifically? Useless
I
to
love
me
it.
or useless to others?
Uh-huh. Okay, that's your perception of useless, anyways. But, and I love the question indeed. It's completely useless. I mean, it's
Completely
something
useless.
you
Okay.
have this superpower, but at least from your perspective, it's completely useless.
Okay, okay, okay. Oh my gosh. A superpower that's completely useless.
Mhm.
See, one thing
Let's
is
take this.
I'm a very resourceful individual, so everything I think about, I'm thinking about how I can use it. But if I had
Okay.
to have a superpower that's completely useless,
And you can tell us how you'd use it if you can really find an actual use for it.
okay, it would be to create rocks in space.
To create rocks in space. Right, okay. This sounds pretty I mean useless, at least
Like,
for the time being. Yeah. It's pretty full of rocks, so we are on it, right?
I love
Okay,
that
cool.
question though. I love that question.
So
Interesting.
okay, let's move on. Let's move on then. What's the you need to pick, okay? I believe
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
have weird ass dreams, but what's the weirdest dream you've ever had?
To be honest, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a pimp. Yeah.
Yes, I love
Don't
this.
ask me why. Yeah. I think that was
Um,
one of the weirdest dream ever.
you read my mind. You read my mind. But okay, why a pimp? Why a pimp? I mean, if I had to ask you why, let's see what I have.
Not knowing what a pimp actually does 100%, but being in high school, you're pumped up on all these hormones as a
Uh huh.
teenager. Yeah, the only thing that's on your mind is girls. So yeah, I always had this dream that I'm gonna become a pimp, have a lot of girls. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. So, let me. Would you rather live in a world where it's always raining or always snowing?
Raining. I'm from the islands, man. I'm a Caribbean man. Yeah, so it's either dry season or rainy season. So I can live with
Uh-huh.
the
Okay.
rain.
You can live with the rain. Yeah, you see. Okay, that was fast. That was very fast.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll ask the last one. Would you rather have fingers for toes or toes for fingers?
Fingers for toes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Well, I've always been X-Man fan, and one of my favorite X-Man superheroes, Beast Boy. Yeah, so Beast Boy fingers are like toes are like fingers,
Uh,
and I'm
uh,
into calisthenics as well. So walking on my hand is something that, yeah, I'm quite adapt to. So I think having
and
my fingers or toes would be more useful for me.
definitely. How would that go with your values?
Well, I love to give. Yeah, I love to give, and I do believe that the secret to living is giving, and we use our hands to give. So right now I have two hands. If I have two more, I can give two times as much. Yeah. So that's how
Oh,
that align with my values.
that's kind. That's kind. That's kind. My dearest, this is what decision making embodied means. That whatever decision you make, you're able to bring it back to what embodiment of you, of your truest self means to you. And that was a funny and terrific example of it. Giving twice as much, being kind twice as much, being able to do that just because he picked having fingers instead of toes. So thank you for embodying your values. Thank you for embodying who you truly are. Um, this was a fun game. I believe that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for
Most
sure, and
definitely.
our
This was fun.
listeners
This was fun.
did enjoy that. So let's get back to some decision making, some serious decision making, quote unquote serious, right? So it's tough decision time. Um, what was the toughest decision you've ever made? Like, imagine you had to pick between the lesser of two evils. What was that
The
time?
toughest decision that I had to make, having to pick between the less of two evils.
It's quite beautiful to see you dropping in. By the way, it's very
Yeah,
important to
yeah, yeah.
drop in when making choices and decision.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to
I'm going
mirror
deep for
that.
this one. I'm going deep
Ah,
for this
yes.
one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll say, I think one of the reasons why finding an answer for that particular question is a bit challenging, because I do believe that there is good in every bad decision that we make. Yeah, I always like to look on the bright side. So if I gotta just think about the toughest decision that I have to make, I think one of the toughest decision that I had to make was to leave home and flying across the world, yeah, to study, not knowing anybody or not ever even living in any other part of the world other than on an island. Yeah, so the jump, that was a big jump for me. Everything was different. The size of the buildings, the color of the people's skin, the language was different. Yeah, like completely different.
Completely
Yeah, I,
different.
I, I remembered when I was excited at first, like I was excited, and I remembered when I was in London in the airport, and I was seeing people, black, white, yellow, some Asians, and it got real when I was in the terminal to board the plane to come to China, where I was seeing everybody's Asian. There wasn't any other human being that looked black or white. It was just Asian. I've never seen so many Asian people in one place. Yeah, and then I took the plane and come to China, and it's the same thing again. Yeah, it's just
Oh,
Asian.
amazing that.
So I think leaving St. Vincent and the Grenadines and traveling across the world to experience a different culture, different language, different food. Yeah, yeah, and being able to really adapt to that. Yeah.
That was the toughest, yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing this. So how did you approach your decision? What factors did you consider? I mean, ultimately, what was the outcome?
Yeah, yeah. Well, for me, like I'm very intuitive, as I said. There was something inside of me that is telling me that if I'm going to serve at the level that I want to, I needed to leave and become something more. Yeah, and I didn't feel like there was anyone in my environment that could have give that to me. Yeah. So
Can
getting
I
a
can I ask you
scholarship to go
something
and study.
on this
Yeah, yeah, go
background?
ahead. Go ahead.
Were you this the story that you shared at the beginning? Was it while you were studying already? So were you already in China, or was it
Yes,
before?
yes.
And
I
okay,
was I was
okay,
already in China. I was already in
you're
China.
already in China.
And
Mhm. Okay.
and even I have another story for that. I grew up in a single parent home, so it was my mom and me and my brother, and we had these neighbors, this group of friends. There were 9 brothers, and they were like brothers as well. And we'll hang out and play together like almost every day. And I
Wow.
was one of the older kids, yeah. So they would listen to me most of the time. And I can remember this one day, I'm there on this big rock. And I was just there standing, just reflecting, enjoying the sun. And as I looked across, they were under the mango trees playing marbles. Yeah, and there was this thought that came to my head that, in the next couple of years, most of these guys would either be in drugs, they would be arrested, or maybe they'll be dead. Yeah, and I was just, how can I get them? How can I influence them in a way that would be more positive? And that answer literally came to me is that I need to become somebody more. I need to leave, yeah, become somebody more so that they can see me in a different light because being there in the same bucket with them, they're seeing me like them. Yeah. So I didn't feel like I had that level of influence. So I think that was a part of my thinking process, into making that decision. It was more of a pull. Yeah, it's like I wasn't even thinking about, China across the world. Yeah, Mandarin, don't know the language. Yeah, but my drive to really want to, be an influence to my friends, to my brothers. Yeah, and even those who had come before me was much stronger. And it even making me think now about, when I was the first year I had to learn Mandarin and I had to study in Mandarin. That's why I was learning Mandarin. And what made me so fluent in Mandarin right now was fear. I was so afraid of failing that I spent every waking day and evening consuming and embodying the language. And
Oh
it was
man.
so crazy, but it was, I didn't feel like I was stressed, but it was just that drive. Yeah, I felt like, I was so scared of not being able to understand or to learn that I really invested, my whole self into to learning the language. Yeah.
That's one of the beautiful examples of when fear and our evolutionary natural drive actually comes very handy, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I think to go back to answer the question of,
Yes.
how I made my
Cool, cool,
decision
cool.
is like I know what I didn't want and I know what I wanted. I think that those were the fundamental factors. Is knowing what I want and intuitively knowing what I need to do to get it. Yeah, the voice in my head didn't
Good.
tell me that I should go and talk to them more. The voice in my head tell me that I need to become more. I need to expose myself to a different environment with different people who know things that I have yet to even think about. Yeah, that's what the voice in my head told me.
Right. And that was very powerful as a moment. It was pretty pivotal, I would almost call it. There was that moment where you stopped and asked yourself, and
Yeah.
you paused enough to be able to listen to
Yeah.
your inner voice. That authenticity, it's your inner authority. Your inner authority told you, beautiful, be more. And you went across the ocean into a place where not only they have different eyes but different color of skin. Like it's like I've been to Japan for a few months. I've lived there, and of course I'm very curly, and I had dreadlocks at the time, so I actually was really standing
Yo,
out. But
Rasta!
Rastafari, man. Yes, I was living it that way. And anyways, I'm growing that back up, but
Easy, easy,
expressional
easy,
power.
easy. Yes, sir.
It's um it's really what I heard here is that you knew where you wanted to go, you knew where you were at, you knew what you didn't want, and you decided on it from within.
Yeah.
You decided on it from within. That's how you faced one of the toughest decisions that you could ever make. That's powerful story, and actually compound of stories here. I'm glad I asked you to give context to that, because yeah, it tied it together so beautiful at that moment on the rock. I will have that image with me. It was very inspiring, and I believe and I hope that it was inspiring to you, my dear embodied decision makers. So one lesson that you learned from that experience, and one advice for the ones who are listening to you, Dino.
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy that you asked me that question. I felt like I'm being led to even answer that question. And what I'll reply is that most often we are looking for answers outside of ourselves, whether it's from social media, from books, from a new course. However, all the answers that you need are literally inside of you. Yeah, as human beings, we are one of the only animals that have a perception of a future and a past. And because of those perceptions, while they are valuable to our advancement in life, we don't realize how much more valuable the present is, like the moment. And to be honest, it's looking back in retrospect and seeing my former self making decisions like those, it could only be something out of a magical movie. Because I know my mindset and the person who I was back then, you know, like wasn't even that capable. Yeah, so to be able to really connect to my intuition and have that belief and faith that what I am deciding to do is what's right for me. Yeah, that's truly big, because most often as entrepreneurs, as leaders, we get stuck, yeah, because of all the noise that are going on. And we because when you're stuck and you don't make decisions, yeah, you're
So
losing
much
money.
noise.
Yeah, and if we can really tap into that inner knowing, that inner self, yeah, that part of us that really knows what's best for us, even when we're in the middle of the war. I think that would be one of the most powerful advice. You already have the information that you need. I think sometimes is what we need is just to get back to, a place that reminds you of peace, a place that reminds you of earth, yeah, a place that reminds you of wind, yeah, whatever that is for you, your oasis that you can listen, yeah, listen to your body, listen to your heart, yeah.
I really, really love it. And look, as it is very relevant to what you are sharing, indeed, the different types of intuitions as you make decisions. Some of you may have the physical, and some of you may have the emotional. Some of you may have like actually synchronicities that you see around, and that's the way you feel you're at the right place. Maybe having, I
Yeah.
mean, the 11:11 on the clock, or the thing that is being said at that right moment by a person you wouldn't expect, whatever, right? To me, it's physical. And when Gino was speaking, I did have these drops of energy throughout my spine. I know that when that happens,
Come
it's
on.
like, mm,
Yeah, yeah, and
mm,
even to add to that as well, there's this book that I love, I truly love, the Napoleon Hill, How to Think and Grow Rich. In one of the chapter, he spoke about having a boardroom that in his visual, like that he visualized a boardroom of
madness.
advisors
Love it.
that
Yeah.
help him to make difficult decision. He'll have Abraham Lincoln, Tesla, and a group of Rockefeller, all those brilliant minds, and that is just through him finding that quiet space with himself to really create a vision of that room. And he split his intuition into multiple people. Yeah, and
Mm.
actually acting as if in that
That's it. Yeah.
visual simulation that he creates in his mind. And we can now see that in the computer. Yeah, where the computer can give you a screen, I'm seeing you, you're seeing me. However, as I said, one of the most advanced computers that we have is this, our body. Yeah, we can close our eyes and create images, yeah, of a reality that we can shape and mold. And I believe, that that's how you communicate with that inner part of yourself. Yeah, and like I grew up as a Christian as well, and one of the things I was always intrigued in the Old Testament was that the writer was talking about angel and God as if God was literally there. And in the New Testament, I realized they stop, yeah, as if God stopped showing up, and there's a reason for that as well. And a part of me think that, as a result of time and us developing more technologically, the way how we perceive angels and God has literally shifted to a point where we don't believe in them anymore, and they are something outside of ourselves. However, I believe that these entities that we would speak about, yeah, it's in us, yeah. So yeah,
Absolutely
that was a
powerful
bit
also
of a
image
rant.
that
That was
you
a bit
gave.
of a rant.
No, but I mean, but you brought it, you brought it down to where it had to land anyways, because I mean, those people that you place in the boardroom to help you make decisions, your own personal decision making board, pretty
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
much. There is a reason, and I now pick random people, but there is a reason why you personally, individually, like Elon Musk. There's a reason why you personally like Nikola Tesla. There's a reason that that you feel attracted to Steve Jobs for. Okay, that reason is you and yours only, and it's your intuition that will speak through them. Anyways, it will
Yes,
be your
yes, yes,
intuition,
yes.
it won't be them.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
might even tell
yeah.
you something completely different, but the reason why
Exactly.
you're attracted by those individuals that you have as the personal board decision making boardroom, well, it's you. Trust it. And
Yeah, yeah.
that makes you embodying your inner authority through the action that you'll make as you make the decision. So that was a brilliant example. And also, well, the reference to Christianity absolutely is always welcome in here, because we all have different backgrounds and different religious, cultural upbringing. So it's very powerful to hear of those. Wow. We've covered a lot of ground today, I believe,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have,
and
we
we're
have.
still not at the hour. I'm pretty amazed. There's still one more thing to talk about, and might that be condensed, and then may whomever is listening come and look for you if they want more of it. Okay, keep that in mind. Don't don't give with four hands. You have two for now. Okay, so um, you have your own system and approach that you've created for yourself and that works for yourself and that works for your clients. Can you share a little bit of it in a few simple steps for our audience right now, like the
Yeah.
surface level, so they can grasp it and eventually use it right away?
Well, the high performance leader coaching process is, designed to help you reach a heightened level of clarity, energy, courage, productivity, and influence, on your journey to life. So, as a high performance coach, it would be my sole responsibility to explore how clear do you feel about your overall life and goals, whether or not you have the physical energy and the mental stamina you will need to perform at your best. Yeah, how bold and confident are you showing up in the world? Yeah, what are the habits that are causing you to fall off course? And what are some of the habits that you will need to start implementing so that you can stay on track as you're moving towards your goal? And last but not least, how can you better inspire and influence those that you love and those that you serve? So my goal for you as your coach would be to help you acquire some new habits and beliefs that would help you show up as your highest performing and best self, whether that is in your relationship, whether that's in business, whether that's, when you're in social environment with your friends. Yeah, and I think it's one of the most powerful, tools that I have, garnered under my belt. And, it's a combination of my own life experiences and things that I've been learning. And, one of the most fulfilling things that I hear from my clients is when they'll come to me and say, Dino, I feel whole. Yeah, because that's what I want, not only for them but also for not only what I want for myself but also for them. Yeah, when a human being feels whole, that means they have to give. Yeah, and better leaders, fit leaders are better leaders, and when we have fit leaders have abundance so that they can give. So yeah, so that's just the overall bird's eye view of the framework that I take my clients through. Yeah.
It's very powerful, and thank you for sharing these. Now I want to ask, indeed, the audience, are you ready to drop in and choose to perform at a higher level? Dino
Let's get it. Let's
truly
go.
gave you, yes, let's go, because Dino truly gave you a framework that, together with the next level embodiment one, if you have a presence still, so it's self-awareness and presence, high vitality and enthusiasm for life through rejuvenation and unshakable integrity, your values, your boundaries, sticking to those, the inner work and the outer work required for all of that, together with Dinos, are you ready to truly make that decision, residing the rest, to go there where you want to be? This is the question that I drop in here for you. And as always, thank you for being present in this very moment, for giving yourself this time for yourself, for listening and learning about decision making and how to embody it with us, Dino Del Plish and Ayrton Giulio Gonelli. I encourage you to share these with whomever you believe can benefit of making just one better decision today, a 1% better decision right now. Friends, family, colleagues, coaches, whomever, please share this message. It's very powerful. And tune in next time for another very powerful, interesting, and great conversation. This was Decision Making Embodied. I'm your host, Ayrton Julio. I'm so proud of you. Thank you again, Dino Delplish. Do you have one
Yeah, thank you,
last
thank you.
word or sentence to share?
Big up yourself.
Big up, big up, big up yourself. Stay
Yes,
unlimited and decide well.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's go.